She said she loved me but she just needed a small favor before wedding, put her mom on the deed to my house, and I thought it was a joke. But she didn't stop only on this. 2 months ago, I thought I was planning a future with the woman I love. Now I'm sitting here wondering how I missed all the damn signs. It started on a random Wednesday night. We were sitting on the couch eating takeout watching some garbage reality show she liked. Out of nowhere, she puts her fork down, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "Hey, when we finish buying the house, I think we should add my mom's name to the deed. She's done a lot for me. It's only fair." I thought she was joking. I actually laughed. She didn't crack a smile, just stared at me like I was the dumbest person alive for thinking it was funny. I asked her why her mom needed to be on the deed of our house when she wasn't putting a dime into it. You know what she said? Because family protects family. And if you're really serious about becoming part of ours, you should be honored. Honored. That was the word she used. I sat there, stunned, feeling the food turn into lead in my stomach. She kept going like she was reading off a script. Told me if I truly wanted to marry her, truly wanted to be part of her legacy, I needed to earn my place. And if I didn't agree, maybe we weren't meant to get married after all. It wasn't even a conversation. It was a warning. Then, I kid you not, she pulls out a folder. Like she had it ready. Inside were pre-printed forms to add a co-owner to a deed. Blank but highlighted in all the spots for my signature. At this point, my hands were actually shaking. I asked her if she was serious. She said dead serious. "This isn't just about you and me. It's about my future, my security, my mom's security." Mind you, her mom has her own paid-off condo. She's not sick. She's not broke. She's just nosy and controlling as hell. I told her, "I'm not signing anything tonight. We're going to talk about this later." She gave me this nasty little smirk and said, "Take your time, but don't take too long. I have options." Options? I didn't even know what that meant yet. By Friday night, things exploded again. I came home from work to find her mom, and some random real estate guy in my living room, literally measuring walls, talking about renovation. I wasn't even consulted. I hadn't agreed to anything. And there they were walking through my house like they owned the place already. I asked what the hell was going on. Her mom, who by the way has never liked me much, smiled and said, "Oh honey, we're just getting a head start. Once the paperwork's done, this will be a family home." Family home. I looked at my fiancée Jessica and she wouldn't even meet my eyes. She just shrugged and said, "This is what serious commitment looks like. You should be happy." I kicked the real estate guy out on the spot. Told Jessica and her mom they could leave too unless they wanted the cops involved. Her mom called me unstable. Jessica called me selfish. They left, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. Saturday morning, Jessica comes back alone, crying, full crocodile tears. Said she was sorry things got confusing, but she was under a lot of pressure. That her mom just wanted to make sure she was protected in case something happened to me. Then she dropped the second bomb. "If you won't put my mom on the deed, I'll need you to sign a prenup giving her control of your share of the house if we split." I swear to you, I almost blacked out. I told her she was out of her mind. I wasn't even married to her yet and she was already planning how to take the house away from me. She flipped immediately, from fake crying to full-on rage mode, yelling that I was a disloyal coward, that I didn't deserve to be in her family, that real men protect their wives' families. She stormed out screaming that if I didn't agree by the end of the weekend, the engagement was off. I sat there at the kitchen table until like 2 a.m. just staring at the wall. On Sunday, I get a text from her mom. A long, nasty essay about how I obviously don't love Jessica enough and how I was holding her back from her destiny. She said, and I quote, "A man who truly loves a woman will lay down everything for her, including his home." No joke, I almost threw my phone into the backyard. Meanwhile, Jessica goes radio silent, no calls, texts, nothing. Monday, I'm at work trying to keep my head straight when I get served. Not kidding. Actual legal paper. Her mom was trying to force a legal lien on my house claiming verbal agreements and familial trust arrangements. I hadn't even married this woman, and they were trying to take my house before the wedding even happened. I called my buddy, who's a lawyer, and he just laughed and said, "Congratulations, bro. You're marrying into a nest of vipers." He helped me file the proper responses and we started building a case. Meanwhile, Jessica kept texting me stuff like, "Are you willing to fight for us or not? And real love is sacrifice." I blocked her number that night. The next morning, I woke up to find my car key deep, all down the passenger side. Big words etched in the paint, "Traitor." Police said no cameras in the parking lot. No witnesses. Nothing they could do. But I already knew who it was. That was 1 week ago. I haven't heard from her directly since, but 2 mutual friends have reached out trying to guilt trip me, saying she's heartbroken and couldn't we just compromise? Compromise? After she tried to steal my house before we even said "I do"? By Tuesday, I thought the worst was behind me. I went to work like normal, stayed late, didn't even check my phone. I just wanted silence. Big mistake. When I pulled into my driveway around 9 p.m., I noticed right away something was wrong. The porch light was off and I always leave it on. I got that bad, sinking feeling in my gut. You know, the one where your instincts are screaming at you? I unlock the door, step inside, and immediately I know I'm not alone. The kitchen light was on, and there she was, Jessica sitting at my table, calm as anything, sipping coffee from my mug like she lived there. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice low. She just smiled and said, "We need to talk. You weren't answering your phone. You left me no choice." No choice? I asked her how she got in. She shrugged and said she still had a key from when we were planning to move in together. Said it like it was no big deal. At that point, I should have called the cops immediately. But stupid me, I thought maybe she was there to apologize. She wasn't. She pulls out this thick binder binder and drops it on the table with a thud. Inside, a detailed proposal of what she expected our marriage to look like. It included a monthly stipend for her mother paid out of my salary, Jessica having full oversight of the house, finances, and future investments, me signing over 50% ownership of the house in good faith before the wedding, a clause saying if we divorced, she'd keep the house, no questions asked. I sat there in silence, flipping through the pages. I thought, this can't be real. She can't possibly think this is normal. She just sat there smiling like she'd won some prize. Finally, I said, Jessica, you need to leave right now. She slammed her hand on the table so hard my coffee mug jumped. If you walk away from this, we're over, she shouted. I said, good, we're over, she screamed. And I don't mean dramatic crying, I mean primal, rage-filled screaming. Loud enough that I'm shocked the neighbors didn't call the cops. Then, no joke, she started throwing things. First my coffee mug, shattering it against the wall. Then she grabbed a picture frame and hurled it across the living room. She picked up a chair like she was going to bash something. At that point, survival instincts kicked in. I grabbed my phone, ran outside, and called 911. I was standing in the driveway when the cops pulled up. She tried to play the victim, sobbing about how I tricked her and used her and now was abandoning her. The officer listened to both sides, but luckily, the broken mug and furniture inside told the real story. They told her to leave or be arrested for trespassing and destruction of property. She left, but not before hissing at me, you'll regret this. My family will make sure of it. That night, I barely slept. I kept expecting to hear a window break or my tires slashed or something worse. The next morning, I had 3 voicemails. One from her dad, threatening to take this to court if I didn't make things right. One from her cousin, saying I was a coward and a disgrace. And one from Jessica herself, saying she felt sorry for me because I was going to die alone. I ignored them all, blocked every number I could. I thought maybe if I laid low long enough, they'd back off. Nope. That Friday, when I left for work, I found something stuck to my windshield. It was a flyer homemade. A big picture of me pulled from my Facebook with the words, warning, this man abandons family. He doesn't honor commitments. Do not trust. They'd printed out like 200 copies, and they weren't just on my car. They were taped to stop signs, mailboxes, telephone poles all around my freaking neighborhood. I spent an hour driving around ripping them down like a lunatic. By Saturday, my boss called me into his office. Someone, I wonder who, had emailed the flyer to my company's HR department claiming it was related to a domestic dispute. I had to explain the whole insane mess. Thank God my boss believed me and HR just told me to document everything. But the damage was done. Now everyone at work was whispering, looking at me sideways. I was humiliated. Later that night, I got a call from one of Jessica's friends, let's call her Megan, warning me that Jessica wasn't done yet. Apparently, her mom was now trying to convince her to file for financial compensation for emotional damages due to the broken engagement. They actually thought they could sue me for not marrying Jessica. I laughed so hard I almost passed out. By Sunday morning, I was officially living in a pressure cooker. Phone still buzzing. Emails still coming. Flyers still popping up overnight around the block like some twisted scavenger hunt I never signed up for. I started thinking about getting a restraining order. But against who? Jessica? Her mom? Half the town at this point? Monday morning, I walked out to my truck and found something taped to my driver's side window. An envelope, handwritten, no stamp. Inside was a single piece of paper. It said, family doesn't walk away. Family stays loyal. You owe us. No signature. I knew right away it was Jessica's mom. She had that passive-aggressive Hallmark card energy. I called my lawyer buddy again, the same one who helped me with the lien papers. Told him about the notes, the flyers, the trespassing. He didn't even hesitate. We're going to file for a no-contact order and document everything. Start saving every flyer, every text, every note. Take pictures, screenshot everything. Timestamps too. So that's what I did. I went full CSI mode on my own life. Monday afternoon, I came home from work early just in case they tried something. Good thing I did. At 2:43 p.m., I remember the time because it's burned into my brain. A white SUV pulled into my driveway. Jessica, her mom, her dad, and 2 random guys I'd never seen before. They all got out like a little army. Clipboard in hand, measuring tape, camera. They were trying to appraise my house without my permission. I stormed outside so fast my shoes barely touched the ground. What the hell are you doing? I shouted. Jessica's mom had the nerve to say, we're just taking preliminary measurements. It'll be easier when the transfer is official. Official? Transfer? I hadn't signed a thing. I wasn't married. I wasn't dead. This was my house. Paid for with my money. I told them if they didn't get off my property in 10 seconds, I was calling the cops. Jessica's dad, real tough guy, stepped forward and said, son, this is bigger than you. Don't make this ugly. Ugly? It was already a horror show. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Jessica's mom tried to block the camera with her clipboard. Jessica started fake crying right there on the driveway. One of the random guys, probably a contractor, started mumbling about not wanting to get involved. Long story short, they all piled back into the SUV after about 2 minutes of yelling, cursing, and threats. But not before Jessica shouted from the window, you'll lose everything. No one turns their back on family and gets away with it. The SUV peeled out of the driveway, tires squealing. Later that night, I found out from Megan, the same friend who warned me before, that Jessica's parents had booked a meeting with a real estate lawyer to try to contest my ownership rights. Like, of a house they had no stake in. No name on the title. No financial contribution. No marriage certificate. Nothing. It was pure insanity. Meanwhile, Jessica went full smear campaign online. She posted these long, rambling paragraphs on Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn, yes, about abusive partners, betrayal, and abandonment trauma. Didn't use my name, didn't have to. Everybody who knew us knew who she was talking about. I started getting messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Some were supportive, some were not. One even said, bro, just give her the house, it's not worth it. Give her the house. Just hand over everything because a grown woman threw a tantrum. Unbelievable. By Wednesday, the police had enough of my documented evidence to finally file a report. Trespassing, harassment, defamation, property damage. We filed for a temporary restraining order against Jessica and her parents. 2 days later, I came home from work and found a dead fish on my porch, wrapped in newspaper, tied with twine, straight out of some mafia movie. No note, no witnesses, no cameras caught it, but I didn't need Sherlock Holmes to figure out who sent it. That night, I moved out, packed a bag, grabbed my laptop and essentials, and crashed at a buddy's house across town. Didn't even tell anyone where I was going, because if they were willing to vandalize my truck, slander me online, break into my house, and leave a dead fish like a threat, there was no telling what they'd do next. I filed a second police report, updated my lawyer, changed the locks again, installed a security system with cameras inside and outside, top of the line, because I wasn't going down without a fight. By the time the weekend rolled around, I was paranoid, double-checking every window, checking cameras from my phone every few hours, sleeping with my truck keys and a baseball bat next to the bed. Friday night, I get a text from an unknown number. Just one sentence. You'll wish you handled this privately. No name, no other messages. I screenshotted it and sent it to my lawyer and the police. Added it to the harassment file. Saturday, I decided enough was enough. I wasn't gonna live like a prisoner. I drove back to my own house. Just wanted to grab a few more things, check the cameras physically. Maybe even start cleaning up the flyers still posted in the neighborhood. What I didn't expect, someone was already inside. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, I saw it. The front door was half open. My heart jumped into my throat. I parked sideways across the driveway to block anyone from leaving and called police before even getting out of the truck. Told them someone was inside my house unauthorized. Dispatcher told me to stay put. Officers were 5 minutes away. While I waited, I watched from the truck window. And then, no freaking joke, Jessica walks out of the house carrying a box. Arms full of my stuff. They were robbing me. In broad daylight. Jessica spotted me and dropped the box like it was full of snakes. Her mom screamed something I couldn't hear. Her dad tried to make a run for it toward their SUV parked across the street. At that exact second, 2 squad cars came screaming around the corner. It was like a movie. Cops jumped out shouting commands. Jessica and her mom froze. Her dad tried to play dumb like he was just passing by, but too late. The box Jessica dropped spilled everywhere, full of my tools, mail, electronics. They all got detained right there. Neighbors came out onto their porches to watch. Some filmed it. One officer came over to my truck and said, "You're the homeowner?" I nodded, showed him my ID, showed him the video of my front door wide open when I pulled in. Next thing I know, Jessica's parents are in handcuffs. Jessica's just standing there bawling, screaming that I forced her to do this because I broke her heart. No one cared. The officers took them away, charged with trespassing, attempted theft, destruction of private property. I was left standing on my porch in shock. What the hell just happened? The cops said the reason they moved so fast was because of all the previous reports I had filed. This time it wasn't family drama. It was burglary. Plain and simple. Later that evening, my lawyer called, told me this was the best thing that could have happened. With criminal charges pending, Jessica's family had officially destroyed their own credibility if they ever tried to sue me. But the crazy part? It wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning, Sunday, my phone buzzes. Unknown number again. Voicemail. It was Jessica, crying, rambling, saying she was pregnant, saying I owed it to her to make things right because now it wasn't just about her, it was about our future child. I sat there in my truck just staring at the screen. Pregnant? Was she even serious? No texts, no proof, just a voicemail, probably fishing for sympathy, trying to trap me into some marriage scam after the house plan failed. I didn't reply, forwarded the voicemail straight to my lawyer. We started prepping paperwork for a full restraining order against Jessica personally, not just her parents. Full no contact backed by police reports and criminal charges. I thought that would be the end, but it wasn't, because 3 days later, I found out Jessica had filed a domestic partnership claim at the courthouse, claiming we'd lived together long enough to be considered a common law marriage, and she was suing for spousal support and half the value of the house. I nearly passed out reading the paperwork. We were never married, never lived together officially, no lease bills, joint anything, but she filed anyway. And in my state, if she could prove we presented ourselves as a married couple even without marriage papers, she might have a case. I couldn't believe it. This woman who tried to force her mom onto my deed, who tried to steal from me, was now trying to become my legal wife after the fact. I wanted to scream. Instead, I called my lawyer. He said, "This is good. It's desperate. Courts see desperate." But he also said we had to fight it carefully, because crazy people do crazy things when they realize they're losing. And Jessica? She wasn't about to go down quietly. Court day arrived faster than I expected. Sitting in that freezing courtroom under fluorescent lights felt surreal. Jessica was there, dressed like some Hallmark movie extra, pretending to cry quietly into a tissue. Her mom was there too. Her dad wasn't probably too ashamed. Jessica's lawyer, some shark-looking guy in a cheap suit, stood up and made the case that we were essentially married and that she was owed support and half the house because because she had invested her time and future into the relationship. Invested? She barely even bought groceries when we were together. My lawyer destroyed their opening argument fast, presented evidence that we never lived together, never shared bank accounts, no proof of joint assets, no lease with both names, nothing. We even had timestamps of me living alone, security camera footage, witness statements from neighbors, hell, even pizza delivery receipts with my name alone. Jessica sat there seething, dabbing fake tears with her tissue like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Then my lawyer pulled out the nuclear weapon, the security footage from the day they broke into my house. Full color, full sound. Jessica's voice loud and clear. Take everything. He deserves it. And her mom saying, leave the cameras. We'll just say it was a misunderstanding. The judge's face was stone cold. Didn't even blink. Jessica's lawyer tried to object, said it wasn't relevant, but the judge overruled. Said it went to her character and the credibility of her claims. Long story short, the judge threw out Jessica's entire case, dismissed with prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile. Jessica burst into loud, hiccuping sobs the second the judge made the ruling. Her mom grabbed her by the elbow and tried to pull her up. Jessica just flopped back down in her chair like a toddler throwing a tantrum. She actually screamed, he ruined my life, right there in open court. Everyone stared. The judge didn't even look up, just banged his gavel and said, next case. It was supposed to be over. I walked out of the courthouse lighter than I'd felt in months. But Jessica wasn't done. That night, not even 8 hours later, I woke up to my phone blowing up. Texts, missed calls, checked the cameras from the app on my phone. And there she was, Jessica, standing on my porch, banging on the door, screaming like a lunatic. You owe me. You promised me a life. You can't leave me with nothing. I called police immediately. Told them she was violating the restraining order. Dispatcher told me to stay inside and that officers were en route. While I waited, Jessica picked up a ceramic planter from the porch and hurled it at my window. Shattered it. Glass everywhere. She wasn't crying anymore. She was laughing. This crazy, high-pitched, broken laugh that still echoes in my head when I think about it. When the cops pulled up, she ran. Actually sprinted across the front lawn barefoot trying to make it to her car down the street. Didn't make it. They tackled her before she could even unlock the door. Took 4 officers to get her cuffed because she fought like a wild animal, screaming about how family is forever and how she was meant to have this house. I stood behind my living room window, hands shaking, not with fear anymore, but pure disbelief. They arrested her on the spot, violating a court order, destruction of property, attempted breaking and entering, resisting arrest. It was all over in less than 10 minutes. The cops gave me a case number and told me they'd be in touch about pressing formal charges. The next morning, I found something slipped under my door. No envelope this time, just a single torn sheet of notebook paper. It said, you'll regret this when you're old and alone. No one will want you. You lost the only person who could have loved you. No signature. The handwriting was unmistakable. Jessica, even from jail, she was still trying to mess with my head. I didn't respond, didn't post anything online. I just added it to the file, gave it to the cops, filed it under more evidence for why I sleep with a baseball bat next to my bed now. After Jessica's arrest, things finally went quiet for about a week. No calls, texts, flyers, or random packages. For the first time in months, it felt like I could breathe, until my phone rang one evening. It was a number I didn't recognize. Normally I'd ignore it, but something told me to answer. It was Jessica's aunt. Never met her before. Barely knew she existed. She spoke fast, almost like she was scared. Told me she wanted me to know the truth. Said she was sick of the lies and the damage Jessica's family had done to me, to others. I sat down, heart pounding, and listened. Turns out this whole thing wasn't just Jessica's idea. It was a full family plan, going back almost a year. Jessica's mom had been scheming from the start. When Jessica and I got serious, her mom started digging. Found out I had no sibling. I was a prime target. The plan was simple. Get Jessica married to me. Get her mom's name on the house. Tie me up with legal obligation. If I ever resisted, frame me as abusive or unstable to force a sale or settlement. It was premeditated. From the engagement to the house hunt to the fake fights about family loyalty. All of it. Jessica's aunt even said that after I bought the house and didn't immediately bend to the mom's demands, they started panicking. That's when Jessica accelerated the timeline, pushing for the marriage, demanding deed changes, showing up at my work, staging emotional scenes. It wasn't about love, and it gets worse. The aunt also told me Jessica wasn't pregnant. No doctors, no tests, just an empty threat to guilt me into letting her stay in my life and by extension in my house. I was numb, absolutely wrecked. I was a target, a project. Jessica pled guilty in court to trespassing and destruction of property to avoid a bigger trial. Got community service, fines, mandatory therapy. Part of her sentence was a restraining order extended for 3 years. Couldn't come within 500 feet of me, my home, my work. Any violation? Immediate jail time. I thought that would be the end. Nope. 3 months later, I heard from Megan, the mutual friend who had warned me before. She sent me screenshots. Jessica had a burner Instagram account under a fake name, posting cryptic messages like, lost everything because of one selfish man. One day he'll know what real loneliness feels like. Tagged to anonymous photos of my street, my neighborhood, even a blurry shot of my truck at the grocery store. She was careful, always one step away from breaking the restraining order, but enough to remind me that monsters don't just go away because the court says so.